לך דודי לקראת קבלת בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קבלת בני שבת נקבלה שמוע וזכר בני בור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו לשם ותפארת לתהילה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת מכוונך כי מראש מקדם נסועה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת מקבלה She
Hine Matov, how good it is as we are finding our seats and we have our prayer book. Many of us know this version. If not, you'll catch on. The words to Hine Matov are on page 10 if you need them. Hine Matov Umanai. Shabbat Achim. Gam Yachad.
Hine Matov Umanai. Shabbat Achim. Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanai. Shabbat Achim. Gam Yachad. Hine Umanai, Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanai, Shabbat Achim, Gam Yachad. How good it feels Umanai together, Shabbat Achim. How good it feels to be. How good it feels Umanai together, Shabbat Achim, Gam Yachad. Shabbat Shalom again. We'll take a moment to welcome each other as we're warming up. And I know I just told you all to find a book and to sit down. But now I want you to turn around to wish someone a Shabbat Shalom that you didn't walk in the room with, so we all feel part of community. But now I have your attention. We will. Okay, well, kind of make sure our cell phones are silent. We can just be together with our voices, our nishamot and our souls joining, and everyone who's watching us online. Shabbat Shalom, we're so thrilled. Extend beyond these walls. A little more Hine Matov. Hine Matov Umanai. Shabbat Achim, Gam Yachad. It is so good to be together, to be able to pause and welcome Shabbat. And then we are so honored and lucky tonight that we have our guest from Israel, Rabbi Azari, who's joining us from Beit Daniel. And so we're thrilled to have a little bit of Kabbalat Shabbat together and then get to hear from our distinguished colleague. And so first we're going to welcome in Shabbat, the Shabbat light, bring some more light as these days are getting darker, that we need some more light. We're going to invite up Risa Feldman to come light the candles, and as we have been doing for over a year now, as we continue to light, and Jacob, we light an extra candle for those still being held hostage who are unable to light their own candle. As we bring more light in, we pray for more light to be brought into the world, for an end to suffering and pain, and a real focus on light. And bless. Yep.
Page 2 and
Page
3.
2.
Okay.
It's on.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of our race that have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Okay.
Do the hostage first.
Yes.
Thank you.
You have to press both.
You have to.
I suck at it.
It's the hardest part. It's the
hard.
actual.
You have to press the trigger too.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat shalom. Thank
Shabbat
you.
shalom, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll continue on page 5 with Kiddush. We'll ask you to rise in body or in spirit.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri agafem. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shapa kodsho b'ahav ratzon hiranu. Zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu b'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol Shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
L'chaim.
Please be seated momentarily as we turn to page 20 for Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. So we welcome Shabbat. We do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and on verse 9 we'll rise and face the back door.
Uikala, uikala, uikala. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat yekabela. 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 Nation חברי, כבוד אדוני אלי, נקרא לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקרא בלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקרא בלה.
Please rise. We face the back door. We welcome Shabbat.
בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצום עולם, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקרא בלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקרא בלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקרא בלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקרא בלה.
Page 27. Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even in unlikely times and through unlikely places. There's no place on earth without the presence. Baruch Hu, page 28.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Let's read together on the middle of page 30, Mariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night, and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity.
Baruch atah Adonai HaMariv Aravim.
Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
Amen.
We turn to page 34 for Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated and join us in chanting V'ahavta on page 36.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu admarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם לשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבת mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohim, Emet. Emet, truth. One of the truths that I hold is the power of the beauty of art and how it can move us, and storytelling. There's a painting that my late mother-in-law, Alice Lok Kahana, made called Jacob's Ladder, and it's one of my favorite works. Those of you that have been to our home, you've seen it, those beautiful strips of waves of color. And this week in the Torah portion, we read that beautiful story of that ladder of the angels going up and down. Her message as a survivor was always that we couldn't expect God to just do things for us. We always had to reach up for God. So just as the angels were going up and perhaps we're reaching for the ones that are always there, we know that the other one coming down is there to hold us. So as we approach the Michamocha, this prayer of redemption, maybe we can hold in our minds and in our hearts that sense of us as the Melachim, as the angels. Sometimes we feel that we're in that place where we can reach down and help, and sometimes we're the ones who need the helping hand. But let us continue to be those angels, changing place on the ladder through our lives. Michamocha, page 40.
Adonat Yaakov ugalon miad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Praise you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel.
Amen.
We're going to keep that the metaphor of her painting and the angels up and down, and when you're the angel and when you're the helper and the person. As we're doing this sort of a little bit of an abbreviated service, we're going to put our prayer for healing at this moment, which we don't normally do, but it feels the same way. And there's moments when we need those angels, and we're the angels. And by calling people's names out as we do for our Mishe Berach L'Cholim, that we're then all now responsible for providing that help, providing some of that healing in all the different ways that can take place. And so as we always say, we pray for Refuat haguf u'refuat hanefesh, the healing of the body when it's meant to be, the healing of the soul, which can always be. And you're thinking of someone that you want to send some more blessings, some more healing, some angels this Shabbat. If you'll share their name out loud when my hand reaches to you. Michelle Copeland. The words are not in our book, correct?
They are not, they are in our hearts. El na rifana la. Oh God, please heal her.
Il na rifana la. Il na rifana la. Il na rifana la. Il na rifana la. משברח אבותינו, הוא ירפא את החולים, מכל שכינה לאמותינו, היא תמצא מזון לסובלים, רפואת הנפש והגוף, רפואה שלמה.
We're going to turn in our prayer books to page 46, and we are going to begin together asking God to open our mouths, but to open our hearts, to open us, to find those words of prayer. And then we're going to have an opportunity for our own tefillah, for our own amidah, whether it is the words on the pages or whether it's the words of our own hearts, is we'll have a few moments for our own prayers, our own meditations, and then we'll come back together for a prayer of peace. So please rise, beginning on page 46.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום ילדוך הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Page 53. Let's read together at the top of the page, and please have a seat. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence like lightning illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it.
This is this week's Torah portion. Straight out of that. Come tomorrow morning to hear that very verse explored. As we continue with our prayer for peace.
We're going to sing Shalom Rav together, page 60. And just a quick word, you've been hearing sprinkled throughout the service, of course, some of the beautiful original melodies written by our own Kim Schneiderman, our artist in residence, and as well as some beautiful tefillot melodies from Israel. So enjoy and sing along with us.
Every season, every moment, every season, every moment, every season, every moment with your peace. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam.
Ki atahu melech Adon, lechol hashalom, lechol hashalom.
Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. V'tov einecha le'areh, et Amcha Yisrael. Lechol עת ולכל שעה, בשלומך. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam.
Baruch atah Adonai hamborech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. And we say,
Amen.
We turn in our prayer books now to our moment of memory, page 293. Our thoughts turn to those who departed this earth, our loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. Remember those most recently passed in our community, Mark Berman, Linda Gross, Donald Kramer, and those whose yahrzeit at the anniversary of their death fall at this time, Austin Agron, Jack N. Barty, Arthur Bergman, Albert Berkowitz, Dr. Norman Bilo, Robert Blank, James D. Bromberg, Sylvia Davis Camp, William Cohen, Lillian Sugarman Cohn, Adrian Darnell, E. Frida Dabro, Alan Robert Duncrack, Margaret Epstein, Annie Phoebes, David Finkelstein, Frida Gideon, Betty V. Goldman, Matthew Henkin, Bertha Mayer Holzman, Beth Israel, Daniel Kibble, Shaul Levy, Rebecca Becky Levinson, Julius and Lena Levinstein and children, Selma Lindberg, David J. Lippman, Susan Marcus, Hyman B. Noodleman, Samuel Oldstein, Rita Cantor Perlmutter, Miriam J. Reinhardt, Rita P. Roseby, Miriam F. Rosenfeld, Florence Rudov, Harry Schleifer, Minnie Spivak, Eleanor Stern, Caroline Berg Swan. If you're also in a period of mourning, honoring the memory of a loved one, or I mispronounce your loved one's name and you'd like to share it with the community, please do so now. I'd like to ask those who are honoring the memory of a loved one to please rise first. And the rest, we rise, join in community of support. Page 294 for Kadisha Tom. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah V'alma divrach yurtei v'yamlich malchutei V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael Ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ul amei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kusha b'richu le'elam yinkol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiram b'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael ve'el kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. Zirchanam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. We say amen. Amen. Please be seated. Just want to share a few announcements before we invite our speaker. So tomorrow morning we have Tat Shabbat at 9 a.m. in here with Kim and myself, and we also have Torah study with Rabbi Danel online, and then we have Shabbat morning services in here at 10:30. Come join me. And then a few exciting things that are going on. You can sign, I don't know if there's any slots left with the dinner. So there are, for our annual Lift Up Holiday Community Dinner on December 25th, there are still volunteer opportunities. You can go onto our website to sign up to help with that, and that we are collecting nut butter for Lift Urban Portland. You'll see the bins out in the hallway, but please bring nut butter over the next, I think 2 months we have, right? 2 months to bring nut butter, and services next Shabbat will be online. So please RSVP for that link on Saturday morning. And then there's so many things going on this month. So every Friday night is special, and every Friday night this month of December and the month of miracles is all very special. So please continue to join us. Oneg Shabbat, Hanukkah Shabbat, Shir Joy Shabbat. It's just going to keep going and going and going. So please come every Shabbat. As always, we should always come on Shabbat.
Yes. Thank you. Special thank you to our ushers, as always.
As always.
And again to Kim Schneiderman. Thank you for your
thank you.
beautiful music.
Oh, yes, we have our Oneg choir before Oneg Shabbat next week. Our youth choir is performing with the Mazel Tones at such great names. The Mazel Tones is the choir at Rosh Schnitzer at Cedar Sinai Park. So please, at 1 o'clock on Sunday, it's open to the public. So come join to see our choir, join their choir, and it's going to be very special. Thank you, Sally.
Like you need an excuse to come to services, but we have so much going on. But I'm really pleased that we have this very special opportunity on this Shabbat to welcome our dear friend, colleague, Rabbi Meir Azari. And I want to give, before I introduce him, thank you to Ira Wagner, who's a board member of American Friends of Beit Daniel. So if you want to know more about ways that you can support this very important organization in Israel, I'm sure Ira will be very happy to tell you about that. And we'll explain a little bit about the exhibit that's outside too. And thank you to Ira also for sponsoring the oneg that we'll be able to enjoy in just a little bit. I had the great pleasure of being able to share a service at Beit Daniel, or the Daniel Center, a number of years ago, actually several times. But whenever I bring a group to Israel, Cantor and I brought a group a few times, and some of you have been with us on those travels. We make sure to go to Beit Daniel and have a Kabbalat Shabbat service there. It is the oldest Reformed synagogue in Israel, and a real center for Reformed Judaism. It had been just a synagogue, just a Reformed synagogue, very unusual in Israel, and stood alone for a long time. And now is the real center for Reformed Judaism throughout Israel. And as we're going to hear in a moment, Reformed Judaism is thriving in Israel and has really expanded in ways that are very important and really reaching. It's nice that Americans, when they come to visit, have a place to go that feels comfortable for them, but much more importantly, reaching to the Israeli community and finding a place of progressive Judaism that so many Israelis just didn't know existed. Unfortunately, they're growing up under a regime that tells them there's only one way to be a Jew, and that's the black hat way. And they're surprised to learn that there's this incredible diversity. And the Daniel Center has really been at the forefront of bringing Jews to Judaism, reform, progressive Judaism to Jews in Israel. Rabbi Azari was appointed to the senior rabbi position of Beit Daniel Centers for Progressive Judaism in 1991. And under his leadership, the Daniel Center has grown to include 4 kehilot, 4 congregations throughout Tel Aviv-Yafo, and later opened the Mishkanot Ruth Daniel, a guest house and seminar center. That's in the one in Yafa. So you can travel all around Israel to find connections to Beit Daniel. Rabbi Azari received his undergraduate degree in Jewish history and political science from Haifa University and rabbinic ordination from Hebrew Union College in Jerusalem, where we all studied as well. He continued his studies at Hebrew University, San Francisco University, and the Graduate Jewish Theological Seminary in Berkeley, California. He also served as executive director for the Israel Movement for Progressive Judaism from 1986 to 89, and served twice as the chairperson for the Israeli Mamram, the Israel Council for Reform Rabbis, and served in the past for more than 20 years as a board member of the Jewish Agency in Israel. He's received an honorary doctorate from Hebrew Union College in 2017 and received the International Humanitarian Award for the World Union for Progressive Judaism and Women of Reformed Judaism at the Union for Reformed Judaism Biennial in 2017, recognizing his contributions to progressive Judaism in Israel and around the world. He's the first Reform rabbi to receive that prize, really a fixture of Reformed Judaism in Israel, and someone who's been a leader in the Reform movement, the progressive Judaism movement, throughout his career. I want to share with you, before we welcome him, the mission of the Daniel Center is to provide Israelis with meaningful opportunities to explore and embrace Reform Judaism and build an Israeli society that promotes tolerance, inclusivity, and equanimity. And their vision is a just and democratic Israel where diversity and pluralism thrive. Mission and a vision that I think we all resonate to, and we can continue to support the incredible work that they're doing. It's a great pleasure to welcome to our congregation Rabbi Meir Azari. Baruch haba.
Toda, Rabbi, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the staff and the leadership of the community for having me here. And Ira and Kim, thank you for hosting me and helping this weekend to go on. It's a great opportunity to say Mazel Tov to both of you for the wedding that is somehow going very soon, no? So, yeah. So Mazel Tov. I am very happy to be here. First time in Portland. Although my wife served years ago as the Israeli consul in San Francisco, covering Portland as well, she traveled here quite often to Portland, but I never had the chance to be here. So I'm making a tikkun and being here this weekend. And I hope that it's the beginning of a long-term relationship between your community, the Jewish community of Portland, and our Beit Daniel in Tel Aviv. I debate myself what to do this evening, and I prepared about Torah. We call it in Hebrew drasha. You know, about the fathers, the dream, the angels going up and down, living in Israel, coming back to Israel, the whole story that the parasha led us to deal with. But somehow I decided between yesterday and today, with the help of Ira and a few other people that I've met, and their good advice, to talk about myself and about the work that we do. And of course, step by step, we'll go to the situation in Israel and the Middle East. I hope that it won't change in the next hour or so. I was quite impressed this morning having the tour with your rabbi at the synagogue there. Oh, wow, it said something so big. Inspiration. You feel when you enter to the building. I can imagine to myself the Reformed Jews that prayed there through the years. I took myself while I was there thinking about what I said yesterday evening about my life journey. While your people, sometimes maybe even you, pray in that building, beautiful one in the 60s, prayed and practiced Reformed Jewish spirit, tolerance, recognition of every human being, human rights, women's rights. Think about the 60s. I grew up in Haifa, in a Sephardic family. I can't see my family in this so far. Can you imagine to yourself what a Sephardic Jew will think when he will enter to a synagogue next door there? Men and women sitting together? The last few years, women wearing a kippah, a talit, a woman cantor, a rabbi, woman. I grew up in a Sephardic traditional family as probably half of Israel. And my father was already a secular Jew. He left the tradition community. But he insists every Shabbat, lunchtime, to visit our uncle, Dod Avram, Uncle Avram. That was for us like the head of the family. There's some kind of a concept in the Sephardic world, the head of the family. And for my father, he was like a father. The respect, kissing the hand, consider him as, and try to imagine the Shabbat table there. Saying hello to the uncle, kissing the hands, and next to the table, of course, the head of the table, the uncle sits. Both sides, his two wives. Yes? Doda Bukas and Doda Johara. My uncle, Dod Avram was married to two women at the same time? I know that it sounds strange, but in a Sephardic Jewish tradition, why to change what our father Jacob did? He actually had 4. This is what we know. Who knows what more? Can you imagine to yourself, your guys here in Portland, marching on the street, calling for women's rights, fighting for, and I'm doing the Shabbat with Doda Johara and Doda Bukas. Try to understand the journey that I did from my childhood to become a Reform rabbi in Israel. When I approached my parents and later to my grandfather and says, Saba, I'm going to become a Reform rabbi. What is this? Who heard in Israel in the early 80s about Reform Judaism? No, you were there. You studied there. You entered to a cab, you said, Reform Jew. What is that? I mean, you have to understand the gap that exists between you and us. Most of us in Israel grew up in countries without democracy and pluralism. Nobody talked in Russia, in Ukraine, or in Iraq, or Iran, or Egypt, and Syria about women's rights and human rights. You know that. And this is the base for our great movement, Reform movement. You need to speak that language in order to be part of this story. And our movement did a major mistake when the state of Israel was established in 48. We didn't come and establish roots in this unique piece of land. We didn't come. All the others, the Orthodox, Haredi Jewish community, just name each one of them, understood very well that the future of the Jewish people would be connected to the land of Israel. You like it, you don't like it, you have to be there in order to play a major role in the history, in the future of Judaism. We had a chance. Rabbi Abba Hillel Silver, the great rabbi. Part of you probably heard his name, but you don't know, probably, that he was the main speaker on behalf of the Zionist movement in the decision, while the United Nations made the decision about partition, 47. When he came to the land of Israel after the state was established, 60,000 people waited for him in the streets between the airport to Tel Aviv. It's 10% of the population of the state of Israel at that time. Waited and waved to the Reform rabbi, Abba Hillel Silver. And the chief rabbis, Orthodox rabbis, waited for him with bread and salt and wine, and blessed him. He didn't stay. Went back, and I can understand why. I saw the synagogue that he served. Who wants to leave a synagogue like this? But what about Israel? What about that community of 600,000 people that was, after a huge war, complicated situation, trying to build, after 2,000 years, a home for the Jewish people? Bait. We didn't understand, as Reform Jews, what happened in the world around us. In less than 3 years, 48 to 52, the end of 48 to 52, 2 million Jews immigrated to Israel. 1 million Jews from the Holocaust, from the camps and around Europe, and 1 million Jews from Arab countries. People will talk a lot about the destruction of the Palestinian community in Israel, the Nakba. But how many of you, how many of us, how many people in the world knows that more Jews left Arab countries than Palestinians or Arab left what became Israel? And they came to Israel with almost nothing. Those who came from Europe and those who came from Arab countries. And 600,000 Jews, after losing 1% of their population in the war, talking about the dead, I'm not talking about how many people were wounded, without anything almost to eat, create a home for another 2 million Jews. Try to understand the miracle that happened. Can you imagine to yourself United States of America today with 350 million Jew people absorbing 700, 800 million in 2 or 3 years? Can you imagine to yourself what happened there? And our movement, and the conservative movement, didn't play any role in this miracle. Bet Daniel, that I had the privilege to get the key and to open the synagogue in 91, was the first synagogue that was built by the Reform and the conservative movement in Israel as a synagogue. Can you imagine to yourself how late we came to Israel? I opened the door in 91. Beautiful building that we got after 20 years of fights. The Supreme Court of the State of Israel had to force the city of Tel Aviv to give us land to build the synagogue. Not the money, not help, but force after 20 years of fights. I got the land, the key, we opened the synagogue, and we waited to people. Suddenly people started to come. Remember the first services, Rosh Hashanah. Many people came from the neighborhood. Beautiful synagogue, beautiful building. The rumors, we made publicity. People started to enter. And you could see 2 moves. One that entered the head. So, something very strange. Men and women sitting together. Synagogue? Can't be. Run away immediately. But Arab people just started step by step entering to the synagogue. And since 91 until today, we grow, as the rabbi mentioned, and we became a very interesting community. Just few numbers. I'm very proud with those numbers. We have, in every given year in the last 10 years, around 250 bar mitzvot a year. You understand the number? We have hundreds of weddings. Although as a rabbi, my ceremony is not accepted by the state of Israel. Can you imagine to yourself that as a rabbi of your community, you cannot perform the wedding or you cannot do the funeral? And the synagogue next door is sponsored by the government, and the building of the synagogue is done by the government, the maintenance is done by the government. How can you run a place as a president of a synagogue with these circumstances? How can you compete? We came late, but since we opened the door, more and more people understand that, wow, it was missing. We missed something. Because Israelis were offered just one type of Judaism. Be Orthodox or Haredic Jew, and that's it. The other option is be secular. But if you ask the secular Israelis, how they live their life, you'll discover very fast that they live like you. They will do Passover, they will do Hanukkah, the whole list. 80% of the secular Israelis in Tel Aviv light Shabbat candles. You know? But they won't do that according to halacha. Watch, they will do that. Sometimes it's dark, Halachic Jews will be dead to see. How can you do that? They do that. They will celebrate bar mitzvah. Bris will be very important to them. They will come to synagogue a few times a year, as you are. They're Reform Jews. But nobody told them that. And this is our mission. A, to tell them that there's more than one option to be a Jew, to be practic Jew. B, is the most challenging task, to tell them that halachic Judaism is not the only way to be Jewish, and Judaism is about social justice, it's about human rights, about women's rights, tolerate the other, accept the other, open the door to non-Jews, open the door to Jews that are wandering, supporting people and not tell them just, don't do this, no. Yes, Judaism about yes. It's the ability to progress your life, to learn from mistakes and failures, as Jacob learned in this parasha. To look always, to be better. Can you imagine to yourself how Israelis are living under the regime of the chief rabbinate? You mentioned our guest house, Mishkenot Ruth Daniel. After years that we fought to get the building, to get the land to build Beit Daniel, we approached the city and said, guys, it's great success. Give us another piece of land to build another synagogue. The mayor then says, you deserve more than that. We'll give you land to build another synagogue, but you don't do just a synagogue. Do a guest house for kids from all over the world. You have the ability to access to Reform and conservative Jews from all over the world. Bring them to Tel Aviv. They gave us land to build the building in Jaffa, a guest house, beautiful building that we did. We have 60,000 guests every year staying in our place. The last year, of course, a disaster. We have families from Sderot, the south, family from the north. Don't ask. Maybe later we'll talk about it. I'm the only rabbi in the world that are paying salary to a supervisor from the chief rabbinate that check the food. Because we work with the Jewish agency and the government, and we need the kosher certificate. One day this guy come to me and says, Rabbi, I got a new order from the chief rabbinate. What is the new order? And it goes every second week, We got a note that you cannot serve anymore in the hotel corn on cob. Why? But our American kids love it. They why you cannot, you understand what happened in Israel? We're controlled by lunatics. I don't know if you checked that or saw that, but when you travel to Israel, by the way, I invite you to travel to Israel, especially now, and especially when the war ended. And come and see. Buy a bottle of water in a kiosk. Look and write, you see that the bottle is marked with kosher. Can you imagine to yourself how stupid is the rabbis, and especially us that allow them to control us, that give kosher certificate for water? And I can talk for hours about the failure to present to Israelis the beauty of Judaism that I've learned through the years visiting your communities. Reform Judaism in Israel won't be the same as is it here. With different type of people, the energy, the spirituality, everything is. But the base idea that Judaism can change, can fit to modernity, to the world, it's the same. And it will benefit Israeli society, but became more and more, what should I say, tough and tougher and tougher. The years of wars and anxiety And the only offer that we have on behalf of Judaism is the chief rabbinate, is Ben Gvir, Smotrich, it's the settlers. Can you imagine to yourself what feels young Israeli that served during the last year 200 days in Miluim in reserve duty, out from his family, out from his business, served in Gaza, in Lebanon, and there's 20% of the population that doesn't serve, doesn't pay taxes, doesn't give anything to the... What is going on here? And they will tell you, wow, this is God's command. Learn. What they learn? I had a television debate with one of the politicians that support this lunatic group. It says they have to learn, they have to renew the Jewish world that was destroyed in the Holocaust. I told him two things. You know, my wife was the Israeli ambassador to Ukraine, and then ambassador to Poland and to Russia. This is the whole Jewish world, you know. I visit those places. You're talking about Bet Midrash. The Bet Midrash was half of this room. And now we are having 5,000, 6,000 kids in the Bet Midrash. They learn, but what is the product of learning? I ask him, you talk about their ability to study and the must study. Tell me one book that was published and did a major change in Jewish life, or brought light to the Jewish world. He hates me until today. When he sees me, he doesn't say hello, because he couldn't count one book that was written by those geniuses that produced almost nothing and cost to the Israeli society, according to a survey that was published 2 weeks ago, 10,000 shekel every family to the taxpayers in Israel, more than they pay, which means $2,500 every month we are paying to those families that doesn't serve in the army, doesn't work, and they create step by step more and more people like them. They bring 7 and 8 kids, while the secular Israeli community, Reform Jews, will bring 2 to 3 kids. It's like you, I told you. How can you compete that? At a certain point, that bond between the ultra-Orthodox and the settlers brought us to a point that Israeli democracy is under risk. We're talking about pluralism, democracy. They're going to shut down the Israeli PBS, the public channel, Haaretz newspaper, the army radio, because they raise criticism, they raise questions about the government behavior, about questions why they don't go to the army. According to the law, they should go to the army. The court says they should go to the army. How come the government avoid the decision of the Supreme Court? What is going on here? You can't ask. But my Judaism, your Judaism, is the spirit of the prophets. Jeremiah, Isaiah. They ask questions, they criticize the government of that time. They even smart enough and brave enough to stand next to King David, Nathan the prophet, that says, David, you are the killer. You did wrong. You do that today in Israel, they will shot you. We need Reform Judaism today in Israel, not because just of the spirit of who we are and to build the bridge between you and us, that we can talk 10 years from now, 15 years, your kids will be able to talk to us, our kids. We need Reform Judaism today to make sure that the spirit of the state of Israel will be democratic, pluralistic, that the spirit won't be the spirit of the Haredim world and the settlers with all the damage that they cause to our community. We were not there because we did not invest enough in Israel. And I'm begging you, I ask you to be more aware to the task of putting this voice in Israel. Beit Daniel is one option. There are many other options. Make sure that Israel will be a strong and a vibrant democracy, a state as our forefathers dream to build. Or Lagoim, light to the nations, in the spirit of the prophets of Israel. This is not the chief rabbinate. This is not what is going on with the settlers today. This is not what is going on with the corrupted leadership that we have today. Israel can be and should be a different place. And to make Israel a better place, we need to be there. You need to be there. Because we don't have the ability to do it by ourselves. And this is what Beit Daniel is doing. People told me years ago, again and again, Israeli won't come to reform shuls. This is an American phenomenon. This is too American. I heard that from your leaders coming to visit Israel again and again. Beit Daniel is the example that it's wrong. Israelis like you. They need spirituality, they need the voice of prayer, they want to be together, they need the community, they need congregation, they want to learn about the history, they want to be inspired, especially during the last year. Can you imagine to yourself how looks a synagogue in Israel since October 7? What is the role of a synagogue in this point? And this is why we need that unique movement called reform or conservative or renewal in Israel. This is the present that you can give us. And I'm so grateful to people like Ira and people that support us and help us to do what we do. By the way, the budget of Beit Daniel is 75% from income within the community. Israel is very different than America. We are European in this, 70% of a budget of average community center, culture center comes from the government. You understand that we don't have the government to support us. We need the support, but mainly we need the spirit, the energy, the wisdom, and your voice. And I hope that this is a beginning of a partnership that we're building with your community as we have with other communities. And I will take, in this point, a break, and I will be very happy to answer any question. Rabbi, we have time? A few minutes. So, challenge me. Please. Wow.
Hi. We have a daughter in Israel who just entered Haifa University, where you're from, into the Women's Studies program. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the Women's Studies program at Haifa University.
I don't know enough in order to talk about this program, but I will take the opportunity to talk about women issues in Israel for a second. Sometimes we tend to forget that with all the difficulties that we have in Israel, Israel is a very unique country and very progressive. I remember that Golda Meir was elected to be the prime minister in Israel in 68, I'm sorry. And you failed the second time to choose a woman as a president here. So we are ahead of you. We already had 3 women heading the Supreme Court in Israel in our history. I know a little bit about your history. You, not yet. I can continue the list. So the status of women from one side is very progressive. By the way, Golda Meir is responsible to part of it, not just because she was the prime minister, but when she was the labor minister in early days of the state, she managed to pass a lot of laws regarding to women's rights. And it's amazing. Israel is progressive in this field, working hours for women, stuff like this. So much ahead United States and most of the world. So women's rights in Israel is more, but at the same time, think about the option of a woman to get married in Israel. If she wants to be registered as a married woman, the only way is the chief rabbinate in Israel. And I don't know if you know that, but if you get married in an Orthodox ceremony, the base concept of the ceremony is that the husband is buying you from your father. This is the order of the Jewish tradition. So think about the lawyer or the physician or the army commander that came from Lebanon, or she is, a colonel in the army, she's getting married and husband is buying. So we have a lot to do, but at the same time, we made a lot of progress. So we need courses like, in the one in Haifa University to promote more and more that. It's the same, by the way, for the gay community. In Israel, the gay community has rights, in many cases more than here. We're very progressive in this field. Yeah.
I'm going to take a point of personal privilege and ask you to do a little bit of follow-up on something you said earlier. And I think just to get us into the matzav, into the situation in Israel right now. And we know the devastation that's happened in the north and in the Gaza envelope with the communities that have been displaced. You mentioned, you said, can you imagine what it is to be a synagogue in Israel over the past year? What is it to be a synagogue in Israel over the past year?
Well, I will tell you that Israel that I see today is so different than Israel of October 6th. It's not the same country, not the same people. The scene that we saw October 7, mainly from the social media of the Palestinians, broke the Israeli society, the heart, the mind, the spirit. All of us under some kind of a mental disorder, we call it. I think that all of us. There's no family in Israel that didn't experience in some way lost or somehow a disaster. We are a very close community. We know each other. So even if you didn't know the guy that died in Lebanon or in Gaza, he was in your neighborhood. And you feel obligated to be there in the Shiva. And you, guys, every corner of the country is under a long Shiva that lasts for 14 months. Can you imagine to yourself how people feel when you have to go 4 times, 5 times a day to a shelter? How can you send your kids to school and being in work while they are in school and there's alarm? What do you do? When you drive a car from one point to another point and there's a alarm, siren, what do? You stop the car. Can you imagine to yourself the guy with a suit coming out and you on the floor, you understand that this might save your life? How do you feel later when you come to the court to talk, but a second ago you were on the floor, begging for your life actually? For a rabbi, the list of kids that we did bar mitzvah and died in the army or in the party. The first guy that died is a guy by the name Yuval. His father used to work for us in the Russian community. He's a Russian speaker. He even studied for a while to become a rabbi. I married him to his wife. They later worked in Moscow under my wife when she was the ambassador there. And the kid, I named the kids, the naming ceremony. He did bar mitzvah in the synagogue. His army unit was attacked by the terrorists. And they were mostly sleeping. And there were 7 soldiers attacking by 400 people. That was the ratio, the number. He was killed in the first hour of the war. Fighting, and a lot of stories about his brave behavior in the last hour of his life. What can you tell to his parents? What can you, there are no words. How do you handle with a grandmother that has 4 grandchildren in the battle? When they come once every 2 months or something like this, they will go to the girlfriends, the parents, the grandmother. How can you support her? What do you do when half of your city is packed with people that lost their homes in the north or in the south? Part of my time last year was in guest house in Jaffa. We hosted refugees from the south. What do you tell them? How do you support them, comfort them, endorse them? There was a lady that I tried to talk to her many times in the first few weeks of the war. She didn't talk. She didn't talk. We were sitting there. At a certain point, I sat next to her, says, well, you have to tell me what is going on. And she said, you won't understand. Try me. She said, the last war, it was about a year and a half before this war, my kitchen was destroyed. Okay. I got money from the government, and I decided, she said, to build a kitchen as you have in Tel Aviv. You know, as you, the rich people are. Not so. So I took a loan. Add to the money that I got from the government, I built a kitchen. Second day of the war, rocket entered for the neighborhood, for the neighbors, and entered to my kitchen. There's no kitchen. It's nothing. Yeah, she's still alive. Her kids are. How you start from this point? She cried. It's just a kitchen. And this story goes on and on and on and on. One evening, I got a call from the guest house in Jaffa. They said, well, your siren was a few minutes ago. Our building was hit by debris from the... I'm running, of course, to the guest house to see what happened. I see the people sitting there very calm. No, the refugees from the south. Just, you're not bothered by, what happened? The guy that ran the guest house for us says, Mayor, it was amazing. They don't care. But what they know? They didn't go to the shelter? No. Why? He says, well, we have that all last 20 years. We have that every time. Who cares? Nothing will happen. How can you handle people that their life, part of their life in a regular way, is hearing sirens and even lost the ability or the idea that they need to go to a shelter? Because, well, okay, what will happen will happen. What do you teach them? What do you tell them about God, about spirituality, Judaism? What do you tell them about love your neighbor? Can you talk about Ve'ahavta le'reacha kamocha and how you do that? And most of us, as you, belong to the liberal side of the map. We're part of the peace process. What do you tell to people that yesterday believed that we can do peace with our neighbors? How you deal with that? What type of drasha you give as a rabbi when the situation is how do you deal with your congregants that comes to you and says, Rabbi, I was in Gaza for the last, as you know, 100 days, and I want to split what I have on my mind. What happened there? And tells you things that you don't want to hear. What do you tell him? He told me, Mayor, from every room, from every window, I saw my death. It's not army against army, tanks against tanks. It's from every window they can shoot. And they do that. So it's me or them. You know what it means to live like this for 100 and 150 days while you're in your 40s? And you have kids at home, a family and business. What do you tell them? How do you comfort and support them? Guys, it's a challenge not for a small group of people, professional army guys. It's a challenge for the whole nation. Because the people that in the war, it's almost the entire country. It's almost the entire country. You can't get today in Tel Aviv a service in a coffee shop. You have to go to the counter, like in Starbucks here, to take your order because there's no waiters anymore. The young generation, there's no. You know how many restaurants were closed in Tel Aviv because there are no waiters and workers? And the list is enormous. What? To call to the army. Call to the army, yeah. Now, think about that. And I'm not talking yet about the economy. And the question that people ask all the time themselves and ask me, I wish I had an answer. Until when? I don't know if you understand what is going on in the last 24 hours. Syria is about to fall in the hands of ISIS. That we heard from your president, not just one, two of them, that says we destroyed the ISIS. There's no ISIS anymore. In 2 days, a week, ISIS is taking over Syria. I don't know what will happen today or tomorrow, but there's a chance that Israel, in the near future, which means maybe even now, will cooperate with Iran and Russia and Assad to stop ISIS. Can you imagine to yourself the circumstances in the Middle East? Because ISIS is worse than Assad. We are living in a neighborhood that is total lunatic. And people are counting how many trucks of water or we enter to Gaza. I mean, guys, it's really complicated. Yes? Well, I don't know when it will end.
Repeat the question.
The question was, Rabbi, when it will be end and what will be the end solution for that? I don't know when it ends, but I think that the solution is there. The solution was the solution that was very close to be achieved in October 6th. The solution was that United States and Europe and the rest of the world, by the way, Russia as well, is moving this region to a different concept. Don't talk just about the Palestinians. Make an area order, a new area order. We're very close to sign the agreement with Saudi Arabia and United States and the rest of the moderate Arab countries in the area. Abraham Accord, not David. Maybe the next one will be David. This is Abraham Accord. No, fine. And by the way, the idea is very clear. And Netanyahu signed that. Two-state solution, exchanging of lands. By the way, this was offered by Israel while Bill Clinton was, yesterday he spoke in New York, I heard him, very late in the television yesterday. He said, I talk to American kids and American intelligent people, and I tell them that Israel offered to the Palestinians 96% of the land, including Jerusalem, and 4% will be exchange of land, and they refused. Arafat again and again refused to do that. That will be the end of the conflict, okay? But can we see the other side there? Who is the other side? Abu Mazen? Guys, without Israeli weapons, Abu Mazen does not exist. You know what happened to Abu Mazen people when Israel left Gaza?
I don't know. Arafat.
Arafat, yeah. It took them few hours to Hamas to kill all of them, and they add to the list the gay community and the lesbian community and the Christian community. Just kill them, throw them from the roofs. You saw the movies. I don't know. Maybe. I saw them. So we give the land to Hamas or to Hezbollah. To whom? Something that you won't take from Israelis is the cheer, and the laugh, and the happiness that we saw October 7 coming out from Gaza. The bodies of our kids and our women treated in the way that they treat them in the streets there. It'd be very difficult today to ask the Israelis to give their trust to that community live there. So I hope, I wish, because I'm telling you, Israel can win any war in this region. But it's tough, and my problem, or my fear is that it's cracking the soul of our nation, the soul of our people. And for that, we need to end the conflict as soon as possible. And we cannot build Israel as one state, one state for two people, because we lose Judaism, we lose Israel. So there's one option, yeah.
Or democracy.
Or democracy, yeah. No, probably both. So I hope it will happen soon. I doubt that it will happen tomorrow.
Speaking of preserving democracy, and we'll do this last question very quickly. Can you tell us about the reform movement's role in the protests that have been going on since before October 7th?
We had a very tough year. The coalition that Netanyahu established, from our perspective, was a disaster. It's Netanyahu that under investigation and allegation. He starts, by the way, to testify this coming week. In order to form a government, he needed the ultra-Orthodox, the Orthodox parties, and the settlers, people that he didn't talk to them. For example, Ben Gvir, he didn't want to take picture with him for so many years. And he said again and again, Israeli television, in any place, I won't consider to put him in my government. He gave him a position that, and suddenly we had a group of laws that were presented to change the whole structure, the whole democracy of Israel, changing from the Supreme Court to the way that we treat the media, the way that, by the way, you're going to go through this process very soon here in America. Being in Poland, when my wife served as the ambassador, when the right government went to power there, it happened there. It's happening right now in many countries in the world. The fight between those who understand democracy and pluralism and cherish it, and those who want to control the media, the power. We will tell you, the judge, what to think and what to sign and what is the verdict. This is the order of the government. We went to the streets as part of the Israeli community. Almost every demonstration that was done, we were there, our people were there. Rabbi Gilad Kariv, that grew up in my community, our community of Beit Daniel, became one of the main speakers against this evil demand of the government to change the structure of the Israeli democracy. He's a Knesset member, and he became a well-known spokesman against that. Each one of us did his share, appearing in television and radio, doing whatever we can. We wrote articles, It stopped because of the war. But right now, because the attention of the public is in the war, and the economy, and the situation, they're starting to pass law by law in a different way. So in Israel, almost every week, this structures hits us. Last week, when I was already on my way to United States, they decided to close PBS of Israel, the television, main television channel of free television, like the BBC of Israel, the radio, the Israeli army radio. They decided to boycott Haaretz because they published articles against the government. Can you imagine to yourself, in a free world, the government tells the press what to write and whom to hire, and it happens almost every day. And we have to stop it. This is what we do. This is our spirit. And we do that not just for Israel. We do that for you as well. Because if Israel would look like the settlers' dream or the ultra-Orthodox dream, you won't recognize the state, and you will have a challenge to live with her. The world will have a challenge to live with her. And we need to keep the Israeli democracy and the spirit of Israel. As I said earlier, this is our task. And be part of the fight for the soul of Israel. What you can do: visit Israel, write, talk, take an Israeli program that you love and support that, program that endorses the democracy, pluralism. Be there. Tell the Israelis that you know that you're afraid of what will happen there. You're afraid for their life, our life, and you're afraid for your existence as a Jewish community here in North America. So, Toda. And those who like to get more information, just look online. Friends of Beit Daniel or Beit Daniel Synagogue in Tel Aviv. Write to me, write to us. We do programs from time to time in English online. We host the people that talk about the situation, about the matzab, about our work. The what we call it ambassador circle is with a guy by the name Dennis Ross. Probably you ever heard the name. I know one of the major diplomats that dealt with Israel and Palestinian issues. So he'll be next month our guest. So be online and thank you for having me. I hope that next time that I will be here, we can talk about the beauty of Israel and your next trip to Israel and place where you can eat and you can enjoy the beauty of this unique
That we will
land.
plan to do, and we will certainly be visiting Beit Daniel as a part of that in our next trip. Thank you. It's a difficult time. It's a difficult time in the United States, difficult time in Israel. But the work that you are doing is really a light for pluralism, for democracy, for the rights of others, of everybody, inclusivity. And we continue to support those ideals and to be your partner in building them in Israel.
One last comment. I'm a rabbi. I've learned from our parasha. Wow, now I can hear myself. I've learned from the parasha that it's not just the letter, but the ability to be somehow down. Failure is enormous. You don't have anything. Jacob, when he left Israel, he had nothing. He had a stone under his head. But you can grow and you can change the world. This is what Jacob did. End of the parasha is a wealthy man, 4 wives, almost like my uncle. So you can take yourself and change. And this makes me a Reform rabbi. The idea that, not 4 wives or whatever, but the idea that you can still change the world that looks sometimes too complicated, too heavy, too far from solution. There's a very famous Israeli song. If it won't come tomorrow, it will come day after tomorrow. If lo hayom, az machar. So it will come mochotaim. So we'll do that. And this is the essence of Judaism. The temple was destroyed, Jerusalem was destroyed, but we rebuilt ourselves. And it happened again and again. Jews were expelled from Spain, from Portugal. We always knew how to raise from ashes. Believe me, Israel 2 years from now will be beautiful and flourish. I endorse you, don't do what our leaders did in 48-40, neglect. Be part of this journey. We have to do that as a movement.
We're going to have a chance to have a little something to eat, and Rabbi Zari will be very happy to answer some personal questions. If you want to know more about how to support Beit Daniel, Ira will be happy to help you out with that. Cantor, would you lead us in a motzi?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.
Oh, and when to explain it when we're... So, want to see this exhibit that's outside? Rabbi Zari will tell us about that as well.